So what's the quality like on that then?
I think it's decent. Like, you know, it's better than a phone. I'll be honest. Like, you know what I mean? It's good. It's not like I don't think it's like radio quality, but you know, it's decent. I haven't had a problem with it yet. I didn't know what to expect when I bought it. I was a bit like, is it going to be a bit weird quality, or is it going to be good, or what? But
you don't have background noise, really, do you? So.
No, luckily, unless like someone pulls up into the driveway or a siren goes past. I think that's the only things that have been caught in the background. But mostly it is just like this little bubble, and it's fine. But anyway, Alex Wilson, how are you?
Hello, I'm good, man.
That was a weird start to a podcast.
Yeah, that's probably not the start, is it?
But yeah, we'll go with it. People can deal with it. It was a good 10 seconds. How have you been, man? It's been fucking ages since I've seen you.
Yeah, it's been a while. Probably last...
It was like start of last year at uni. I think I ran into you in the library when you'd first shaved your head.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure if it was you at first, because I was like, is it him?
Yeah, it must have been like December, last December or something.
And you were trying to find something about AI. You were looking for books on AI.
Yeah. In the library I was trying to look at
Were you successful, or?
No. It's not much in the library.
I hate to agree with you. I mean, it's a weird library. Are you still doing your PhD?
I am, yeah. So, I mean, I was supposed to be finishing in July.
Right.
In January, sorry. In January coming. But, obviously with this virus, there's a big delay.
Yes.
So it will probably be July next year.
Fair enough. At least you'll actually get a, like, graduation or whatever. It will be, like, actually finishing uni rather than just being waved goodbye to and never seen again.
Like, online...
I don't really know. Like, it seems just a weird thing. I think they said my mum was telling me they said something about an online graduation, but they were apparently it cost money to get into, even though it was like their graduation. And I'm thinking, like, why would students pay for a Zoom call? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hope that's not the case.
But I haven't really heard.
I think the plan was to have a virtual graduation and have a real one. So just the virtual is like, just because now it's the end.
Yeah, it's when you're still in the right.
You can show that you that you have actually finished.
Yeah, and you're still in that sort of like. Because if you wait until you can do it in person, you're kind of over it at that point. I feel like it's been that long and you're like,
job.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're like, I'm over
you've already. I mean, I had my undergraduate graduation ceremony while I was a master's student.
Right. Yeah.
So I'd been a master's student for like 4 months, and then had my undergraduate, and it was a bit weird.
Yeah, I can imagine it's a bit weird going back. Yeah. That'll be like being a uni student and then having like a GCSE prom and being like it just seems like a step back.
Over it. Like,
like, come on, we're on to bigger things.
Like
now.
Everyone's celebrating passing their undergraduate degree, and I'm past caring now because I've started the next one.
Yeah, you're on to the next bit. But yeah, you are a lecturer, aren't you? Is that the right term?
I mean, that's what I do, but I don't think that's not what my contract is. But that is the job, yeah.
Okay. So in psychology, right?
Yeah.
That's your field. And then because you have a podcast as well.
Yes, which hasn't been touched since the lockdown.
It's still a good podcast. How many? There's like 14 episodes, right?
I think 17.
17, more than I thought.
I think.
Yeah. It's a good.
But it was tough to get. I don't like doing it over Skype.
Yeah,
So I much prefer like this, where like I can actually talk to a person and
not worry about the internet crashing and freezing and resets and
like,
things.
If we talk over each other in person, it's literally for like a split second.
Yeah, because you can adjust.
It's just a
mistake.
mistake.
The delay online makes it.
And then there's a delay, like we'll be mid sentence before I realise that you're still talking or something, and then it comes off rude.
Yeah, I can see that. It is a nightmare. I see some where they're online. I'm like Joe Rogan's when he did the one with like Edward Snowden and stuff.
Yeah,
and it was online. And I was a bit like,
and even
it seems so interesting, but I'm like, do I want to deal with it? But
even that, I think he did really, really well, because that's a satellite delay, so that is like seconds delay. And even then, I think they did a really good job. But for me with podcasts, when it's silent for like 4 seconds, I check my phone to see if it's turned off because it just fucking annoys me. But I didn't check if I could swear, and I just swore.
You can swear.
Oh, cool.
I don't give a shit, man. You can swear as much as you like.
Cool.
Well, it depends. It means who hears this? Is someone going to be annoyed if you're swearing in public?
No,
like,
I'm in charge of me, man. I say what I like.
Your mum's going to call you up and be like, Alex, I've heard you saying naughty words online.
No.
But your podcast was sick, man. I liked
thanks, man.
your character arc of the series was you going from calling stuff retarded to by the end, saying, like, deciding that.
I mean, the whole point really was for me to just talk to interesting people, and the episodes I had with certain academics just opened my eyes to certain things, to their research and the effects that certain words have.
There's some super cool people. Like, my favourite ones was when you had, was it Callum Cooper?
Yeah.
His name? Those ones were interesting.
Yeah, he's been on a few times. I think he's still at war with Wikipedia, which is what the episode focused on a little bit. But yeah, so that's like, he's a parapsychologist, and
yeah, I didn't even know we had
all sorts of stuff. Oh, for Northampton, yeah, it's great.
I didn't even know. And then after watching those episodes, I was in the library, and there's just like a massive section of it.
Yeah,
I was like,
Callum's a big reason why that library looks the way it is.
It's awesome.
Likes to add to it.
Like,
We have a whole research group that I'm part of in terms of the consciousness research and stuff, but consciousness and experiential experiences. So
because your research is into that, and then you do stuff with drugs as well.
Yeah, so it's altered states of consciousness is my research. So I'm not a parapsychologist. I'm not into the ghost hunting and all that stuff that some parapsychologists do. But most of the parapsychology at Northampton focuses around like anomalous experiences, so just things that are kind of weird, like why do I know this? Or why did I get this feeling? What is deja vu? That kind of thing.
I did like it because on the surface, when you think parapsychology, and then it's like, oh, they're going to be talking about ghosts and stuff, but it's not. It's
like Most Haunted ruined that word, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, it's
those kind of shows.
It's sort of a thing where he's like, it's not. Ghosts aren't necessarily dead people coming back, but he's like, something's going on that's causing people to have these experiences, and it's like, and some of the ones I was like, I've never even heard. Like, he had a thing about like people getting phone calls from the dead.
Yeah, that's one of Cal's books is phone calls from the dead. So it's like you'd get a phone call at 2 p.m. from your uncle who says, everything's fine, like I love you, says bye, and then your mum calls 2 hours later and says your uncle died at 1, and you get the phone call at 2. So you're like, whoa, what happened? Like, I swear I just spoke to him. So there's experiences like that.
The one that freaked me out, mainly because I was walking through Beckett's Park at night when I was listening to it, was when he was talking about that road where people walk down it and then would suddenly like pay attention and be like, oh, the time period's like switched almost.
Oh, that would creep me out if I saw this.
And I was like, listening to it, I was like, that would be so weird. And then I was walking through Beckett's Park and it was dark, and I was like, this shit. Like, I was like, oh my god. I was like, I need to
like my position on all that stuff is always really skeptical.
Yeah.
But when I speak to people that have experiences like that, it doesn't appear to me as though they're lying.
Yeah, exactly. I don't. The thing is, it's like I'm skeptical of it being actual like ghosts, as in terms of that. But I'm like, something's got to go on, right? Like something's got to be happening. Whether it's like some form of schizophrenia, like you could relate to mental illness, or they were like drugs, or just something weird's going on in the mind, right? Sure.
I mean, that would be like the staunch materialist view would be it's a hallucination, or too many coffees, not enough sleep, those kinds of things. So you're hallucinating, and that's the side that I would lean to personally. I would lean to this is not true, but I'm also I'm a scientific mind. I'm a scientist. I understand that there are, for those that are scientists that might be listening, significant p-values, that you find differences between groups, that these things are sort of going on, and parapsychology has found itself to be stricter in some ways than some of the other disciplines in psychology.
I guess they have to be, because they're under scrutiny constantly.
So they have to be, but because of that, of course, there's file drawer technique and all of that, like losing of insignificant studies and all that stuff, but I feel as though I'm biased towards the materialist side, that this is all nonsense, despite the fact what some of the numbers are showing. But
I mean, it's not necessarily nonsense, but it's not like what it appears to be on the surface.
Yeah,
I tend to think it's like.
Yeah, but my philosophy for my entire life is like, I just don't listen to what anybody says. Nobody knows anything.
Yeah.
Anyone who tells you they know what happens when you die is full of shit. You have to be full of shit.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like,
because you ain't been there.
Because you've not been there.
You know.
Right?
Like,
and if you've had a near-death experience, but you've not... That's a near-death experience, right? Yeah. You're not dead.
You got close. You got...
Right?
That's the edge.
Yeah, I'm always... It's kind of a healthy position to be, but I'm always questioning.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like you have to, because it's like... I like... The weirdest thing for me was to be like... If me as a 20-year-old was to get locked in my viewpoint at 20 years old, I feel like that's just setting myself up to be completely wrong about everything. Like, you know, it's like, I feel like you have to be sort of open, at least. Like, not completely open, because then you're just open to more bad ideas, I guess. But you need to, like, question and build upon.
Yeah, well, you have to... Like, education's a lifelong thing. It doesn't take... Its form isn't degrees and bits of paper and letters after your name, and that's coming from someone who's got some letters after his name and is trying to add some more. Yeah. Like, it doesn't take that form. It can be reading books. It doesn't have to be. It can be podcasts and conversations.
However you get it in there, you know what I mean?
However you grow. It's just...
Yeah, and it's different. It's like it's different for everyone. I was going to say I had Alex on the podcast the other day, but I don't know how I've done this. But without planning, the first 3 episodes of this podcast have all been with people called Alex.
Maybe that's what you do from now on.
Just rename it the Alex Show and just have different Alexes on. That would be
that's a niche.
Yeah. But yeah, it was. Yeah, I didn't plan it. I had other podcasts, and then just through rearranging and chance, it's ended up the first 3 episodes are all Alexes. You know, so. But yeah, I'm hoping to. Tomorrow should break the cycle. I've got someone called Azim. Still in the A's, but you know, at least we're away from Alex. We're moving forward, and then it's on to B. I think I have to do it in alphabetical order from now on in the release schedule. But yeah, what were we on about? Fuck, I got distracted.
I don't remember.
Talking about fucking Alex. We were on about
like education.
Yeah,
through life. Yeah,
that was. I had Alex Potton on, and he was like, he's still like learning stuff, but he's not like an education guy. Like, he left school at 14, and then he's like, I'm just working on getting better at photography and like doing stuff, and that's how he learns.
Education and school are 2 separate things.
Yeah,
to me, they're supposed to be considered the same thing. Yeah. But school teaches lessons sometimes that are not important.
Oh yeah, 100%.
School is great for social things.
Yeah,
but it's not. I'm not a geographer, but I still know about sedimentary rocks.
Yeah,
it has no bearing on my life whatsoever. I would rather have learnt about taxes than sedimentary rocks. Yeah, but for the people that are geologists, geography was their shit. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And I guess it's like we said, being open. When you're young, you don't know what you want to be. You know what I mean? No. Like, when you're coming up, like, because some people are like, why can't I specialise earlier? And then you think, like, when you were 13, 14, you had no clue. No. There's like a few people who do, but most people like are just like... I would have specialised in
graffiti, because that's what I was interested in at 14, and playing basketball. That's all I'd have done. That's kind of all I did do, but... yeah.
Fair enough, honestly. I mean, you still do basketball, you coach and stuff, don't you?
Yeah, I still play for Leicester.
Nice. Because that's how you know Will and all those guys.
Yeah, so I went to university with Will.
Ah, right.
So then he didn't play basketball when I first met him, but he's 6'8".
Yeah,
so
he's like built for it.
Strong as hell. So it's like, dude, what are you doing?
Well, aren't you? You're
like, here's a ball. Just practice with that for a bit. And yeah.
And you're already ahead of everyone.
Basically.
Yeah, he's a super cool dude. I need to get him on at some point. So I need to jump from the A's all the way to W when I get him on.
Yeah. Well, you can count him as M if you go with Misfit.
True, exactly.
So you can get him on early.
Yeah, I could play it as however I want.
Yeah, well, I mean, Will's been on mine too.
Yeah, I saw the one with Will. Yeah, Will's a super cool dude. He's like done loads of shit. He's been doing loads of shit recently as well with Vietnam and stuff. He's like the guy for it in Northampton. You know what I mean? He wrote. Well, he did the speech at Guildhall.
Yeah, he's on the board for the Stop and Search thing now as well.
Yeah, and then he was on. Was it ITV News? He was on there with Brooke. I think there was an interview where he was. Was he in that one, or was that Brooke and some other people? I can't remember. And then he wrote the article recently for the Happy Hood.
Yeah,
as well now. So he's been like probably one of the most productive people through this whole lockdown. Like,
yeah.
Like, at least that I know. There's probably people doing other shit who are like, I've been doing stuff, but you know, he's definitely been like on it throughout the whole thing. It's been like.
Well, the lockdown's one of 2 ways. Either you double down and work super hard, to keep yourself sane, or you do other things, or if you're locked down with a small child, you're not doing anything.
Well, yeah.
Because your entire job is homeschooling.
I mean, they're still doing something. You know.
Yeah, I mean, you're not doing anything
not
work-wise.
Yeah.
I've not been able to do any research or any writing, just because I've had my 5-year-old son to entertain and to teach, and then I'm knackered at the end of the day, so I can't even do it while he's asleep.
He's at least he's a cool kid though. He's
one
of the coolest kids. Like, at least he skates. He's he's rad.
He's super well behaved, but
it's
tough.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite Radland locals. Easily.
Yeah, he's definitely. He's a fixture of Redlands for sure.
Yeah, he's now. I'll just be sitting on the bank where everyone sits, and then he'll be going down the ramps and stuff, no fear, anything, just on his knees, doing it. I'm he's doing it right.
He's just on his feet now on those big banks, and he ollies off the ledges now. He's kind of
sick. But he's it's one of those things where he's because he's so young, he is actually playing. And
he's messing about.
Yeah, so I'm it makes it even better. It's it seems like a weird comparison, but he's like Mark Gonzalez, where it's he's just doing whatever he wants basically.
Yeah, he's not. Board is a toy.
He's not. Yeah, he's not controlled like the rest of us, where we think about skateboarding equals kickflip, then this, then this.
Yeah, which really is. It doesn't. There's no order you should learn anything.
That's a weird thing when you see tutorial series on YouTube, and they're these are the orders you learn the tricks in. It's
just cruise about. I'm really good at pushing and cruising about. It looks like I can skate.
Yeah, but you can. You are skating. That's skating.
But it is. What I mean? But it looks like I can do tricks, but I couldn't care less. I've been skating a year, and I don't care that I suck.
But it's so fun.
It's fun.
It's too fun for its own good.
Earth is moving underneath me.
Yeah, and you're
and I'm in charge.
Whizzing through people and stuff. It's amazing.
I'm in charge of where it goes.
It's so there's something about going fast on a skateboard that's equal parts fun as hell and also scary as fuck at the same time.
Yeah. It takes you back to childhood, just riding a bike around the neighborhood, where you can go wherever you want, kind of.
Yeah, and every time you want to go a bit further.
Yeah.
A bit further.
You can
explore somewhere else. Is it kind of from when I was a kid and skating loads, and then seeing the kids now. The kids now are way better than we fucking ever were. But also they don't go street skating a lot. They don't seem to we'd for us Radlands we'd meet up and then we'd go somewhere else. Even though anywhere else is objectively worse, so it was just we want to go towards trouble and find something to skate, as they just stay at Radlands and train. You know what I mean? Almost in a weird way.
Yeah, skateboarding is training. That strikes me as weird when other kids come to Radlands with their parents and skate with Eli. We don't arrange it; they just happen to come, and Eli's there every damn day. So, so he's just there playing and having fun. And then I've seen other parents. If I post a clip on Instagram of Eli skating or something, I'll get all the little kiddie pages liking the video or following me, and these brands that sponsor those kids liking the videos and following and stuff. And it's a bit strange to me, because when we see those kids come, it's their parents are telling them the line to film, and they're let's go and film. And
there's that weird.
It's all professional for an 8-year-old kid, and it's weird.
That's why I don't like the skate camp thing. You know what I mean? When you see it's 4-year-olds have been going to skate camp for the summer, and I mean I'd rather them be skating than sitting at home doing nothing. But also it's okay, first you're going to learn to drop in, then you're going to learn rock fakie, then we're going to teach you this trick, then we're going to and then you watch them skate and they're oh, you're all doing the exact same thing with no. And I mean, as they get older, they'll obviously
they'll get style,
differentiate and they'll do whatever they want, because they'll come up with something, and eventually you get bored of being told what to do, especially in skateboarding.
But what that happens is you'll turn off. If you look at other sports, you look at football, or there's the shows on Netflix you'll see of dance mums and stuff. Eventually they stop dancing, or those kids stop playing basketball or stop playing football, because they equate doing well at the sport with whether dad loves them.
Yeah, and it's not.
And that's a way
they're
to
not
just be
attached
jaded
to
as a teenager. It's already hard enough growing up and becoming a teenager. It already sucks.
I guess that's even scarier when it's applied to something like skateboarding, which the whole point is it's meant to be just free and open. And then to take the most free and open activity you could do outside of like what's considered art, and then make that a step-by-step
It also
process
attracts
that's dull.
fuck-ups. Like, as a sport, skateboarding kind of attracts
Oh yeah,
fuck-ups.
100%. Like,
But
yeah,
so you're
that's like
taking
the
a kid
point.
who's good at skating, who's going to already hang around with fuck-ups. And then when they hate the skateboarding, all they've got left is the chilling with fuck-ups at the skate park.
Yeah, it's a...
And they hate skating because you made them... You
as
told
like
them
a
to do a
robot.
kickflip onto this and then manual off that and do this.
Yeah.
Rather than just... If Eli wants to film, like he tells me to film, I don't want to sit there for 20 minutes filming while he misses a trick again and again and again. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I didn't get him into skateboarding because it's like a cool thing to do. I honestly wish Radlands was a bit more empty. I think skateboarding, I wish it was less cool for a selfish reason, so I can skate more.
Yeah,
But,
I'm the same way, in a,
you know,
in a
for
weird
him,
way.
he got into skateboarding and then I got into it because I'm a fidget and I can't sit still and just watch him skate. I couldn't sit there for 3 hours and watch him, but I can skate with him.
Just watching it's like...
So I learned to skate too with him. I mean, I'm a
Fair
basketball
enough.
player. I didn't grow up skateboarding. This isn't my failed skate dream put on my son. Like, he for some reason got super into skateboarding.
Yeah.
Piece of wood with wheels.
It's
And
like a
then I
thing
got
with
into
kids. I always wonder how... Because I remember like knowing about skateboarding as a kid, but I don't know how I knew about it. There's like some like in kids where you're just like, maybe you're just like, it's like instinct. You're just born with it. You're just
There's
like,
like
I
a
know
lure
what
to it. Though.
skateboarding.
Maybe like you see an older kid just pushing down the street, and it does look cool.
Yeah.
Like when you're a kid, you see skateboarding
having
and it
fun.
looks cool.
I guess when you're a kid as well, you see a lot of adults being boring as fuck. Like, you know what I mean? And then you see like an older dude just like going fast, like
And it's
doing
that,
what he wants.
it's
like,
that age of people you look up to. Like, you don't look up to the 40-year-old in a suit standing at the train station with a briefcase, but the 17-year-old looking kind of rad, pushing down the street, like that guy.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, fuck.
As a kid, that guy, you're like, I want to be like that.
Yeah.
And usually it's because I want to be like that so I can get girls. Usually that's what it is, right?
Yeah, for a lot of people, which sucks because then you end up with... Actually, like, I hesitate saying things because even from when I was like 13, 14-year-old at the skate park, the situation with girls and skateboarding has changed.
Oh, it's
then,
great to see
completely.
so many girls
Like,
skate.
there's so many girls at Radlands now, and they're like
It's so
good
cool.
as well.
Yeah.
It's like when I was a kid, there'd be girls at Radlands, but they were basically just dragged there by their boyfriends, or were there to just distract, or not distract people,
To
to
hang
talk to
out,
boys, and
like,
it
to
was just
chill,
like,
yeah.
oh, go away. Sometimes
Yeah,
you're like,
yeah.
fuck off, like get on a skateboard, or get out the way. But
it's a whole different game now. Like.
oh yeah, totally. There's so many, and they're like actually like when they're going for it, you're like,
Yeah.
Like,
Well, the more women that skate means, you know, there might be less creeper skateboarding dudes. Like, less people will be like creeping on. I mean, I've seen it. Like, people will creep on girls and teach them to skate and stuff, and it's like
and it's like, come on, dude.
then
I know what you're
then a
fucking
woman will
doing.
arrive who's just fucking sick, and she'll just shred,
Yeah.
and then. Like,
Yeah, it's always weird when there's a girl who's like really good and guys are still trying to teach them.
Yeah,
And
but
it's like
she's way better
they
than you,
know what
dude.
they're doing. Like,
Yeah,
chill.
she's
just
way
fucking-
better than you, man.
You know,
Stop
the best
creeping.
you can do is try and keep up. You know. Oh, fuck,
But that's
it's
like you're weaseling your way into.
yeah.
And I feel sorry for women that have to go through that. That's not unique to
It
skateboarding.
must
That's
suck.
just the life of being a woman, I guess. Being creeped on.
But then there's also like a lot of like girls in skateboarding who can just tell people to fuck off, which is nice to see, and they don't like they obviously they must complain about it because it's fucking annoying, but also like in the face of it they're like, fuck you, you know what I mean? I'm like, yes, just telling people to like, I'm glad that it kind of in a weird way, like girl skaters are like more true to what skateboarding is than what, like, sometimes you go to a skateboard park and it would be all guys and you're like, you guys are taking it so seriously and you're treating it like training and things like that, and like girls are there, they're having fun, they're just like playing around and sick at it as well.
Yeah,
You know
I
what
do
mean?
quite like the taking it seriously aspect of it, though.
I do sometimes when you want to like learn and get better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But sometimes it's like, I don't know. Skateboarding's a weird thing because it's like, it's a sport, but it's not a sport, and it has these two like pathways that it goes off that are kind of at war with each other when they don't need to be, because people will be like, SLS isn't really skateboarding and fuck the Olympics, and there's other guys who are like, no, it's a sport now, you better learn to keep up, you fucking artsy fucks.
I mean, I don't understand how you could say SLS isn't skateboarding. I mean, the size of the rails, and they're riding on a skateboard.
Yeah.
Okay, they're not hill bombing. Okay, they don't look cool.
Yeah, but it's still skateboarding.
Yes, they're sponsored,
you know
and they're selling brands, and they're wearing. And they've got GoPro.
And I think people hate that because it's like, it's when it comes to like selling brands and things like that, and some of the brands aren't strictly skate brands. You know what I mean? They're not, and that it's like, you know, you get like the Monster Energy and stuff like that, and people are like, "Fuck this! Like, get out of my," you know.
I get that, but also, don't you want to be paid for the skill that you have?
Exactly.
Don't you want to be able to skate and not have to work a job?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Monster and Red Bull have money that, you know, just name any skate brand. Don't have.
It's like, and it's a much easier pathway than trying to be, because not everyone can be Mark Gonzalez. As much as people want to think they're like Mark, like all those type of skateboarders, like you can't do it. You're not going to do it.
That.
You know what I mean? It's like,
and but now you can carve your own path. Like there's Blondie is a model and fashion designer.
Yeah, and sick at skateboarding as well.
And wow,
have you seen the clip of him getting fucking hit by the taxi?
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's seen it, but you've got to bring it up because it's just so insane. The way he walks away as well, it's just like,
rolls
oh
off
my
it and
god,
goes on about his day.
Yeah,
I think he filmed after that as well, right? He landed it after.
Yeah. I think a lot of people. The thing is, it got so much hype because it just looks insane. Because it's like
bad,
flying through the air, and he just walks away. But then in interviews, apparently he's been like,
he's fine,
I was getting hit by a taxi every other day at that point. Like it was just, like when it happened, he didn't think much of it because it was normal.
He definitely needs a spotter.
Yeah, introduce spotters, especially in London, man.
Yeah, but I mean that's like the carving your own path thing, and then there's the John Hill doing YouTube stuff.
YouTube guy.
And, you know, Braille have done their own thing.
Yeah, and then
I mean that's more for kids. It's to entertain children, but
and it's Andy Schrock as well. That whole Revive family that Braille's like kind of a part of as well, and John Hill was a part for quite a while.
Found their way.
Yeah, they just did their own, which is like that's skateboarding.
What it was.
Even though people are like,
DIY.
oh, it's for kids and stuff, but it's, you know, do it yourself. You know, exactly.
That's what skateboarding.
I mean, if you watch the old Revive stuff, it's not for kids. It's definitely like more like core skateboarding as such. Like obviously they made it more kid friendly because he's like a dad and stuff. He has kids. It makes sense.
But if you're not pissing somebody off, you're not doing anything.
Well,
if someone's not jealous or unhappy,
yeah, exactly.
Especially with the internet, it's just made 10 times worse. Now that everybody has a voice,
Mm.
It used to be that you had to not be weird, or you had to have some baseline level of intelligence to get a journalism job. Now everybody is a journalist because you tweet it to the world.
Yeah, exactly. You can go online and just say whatever you want, and someone's going to listen.
So you used to not have to be careful with whose opinions you listen to, because you would only get opinions of people that were somewhat trusted.
Yeah. In
some respect.
Yeah.
Even if it was tabloid, they were trusted in a way that they knew grammar at least, right? So they could write. But now it's just a free for all.
Yeah, it's so open, and it's a curse and a blessing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's great because now if you want to DM The Rock, you can, and he might see it.
Yeah, there's a chance. My friend, what was it? To be fair, he'd had a couple of drinks, but he DM'd MF Doom like, come to Northampton. He's like, you got to shoot your shot. And I was like, fair enough. I can't argue with that. You're going to get blanked. But,
I mean, that's the connection that you now have with people.
Yeah.
But so that's the blessing. There's a way to keep in contact with everyone.
But
you can get news from the source. But the curse is you can get bullshit, and companies get paid for clicks.
Yeah.
So they just need a headline that makes you click. The actual story doesn't have to say anything, and often it doesn't.
Well, I feel like a lot of people don't. Half the time, don't read news stories. They just read headlines. I mean, we've all done it.
That's a fact. I mean, there's a study that I wish I could. I would need a laptop. My memory's not great, but
take the word for it.
That it's some ridiculous percentage just don't read. In fact, there was a tweet that was saying that as a joke. It was basically a spoof on that entire study, but the tweet was something like 80% don't read more than the headline.
Right.
And that was retweeted hundreds of thousands of times. But if you actually clicked and tried to read that story, the story would say, you just did it. You didn't fucking read this. Don't read,
Excellent.
You just did it without reading it. So the story about retweeting without reading got retweeted without being read.
And a lot of people like you see, like some stuff, it's like obviously like people will repost stuff on, say, retweet or Instagram stories and stuff, and not think about it. You know, because sometimes it's like, you know, that sounds nice, but when you really think about it, it doesn't quite add up. Or you know what I mean? And sometimes it's like, it's why shit, like, do you remember a couple, was it a year or two ago when there was the white power symbol? Where they said the OK symbol was the white power thing, and it was just like a troll, and it just blew into media. Yeah. And it's like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, scuba divers were like, no, that means I can breathe.
Yeah. It's like, hang on.
What are we doing?
Yeah. It's like just like one of the universal symbols of like OK, and they just made it a thing. People went with it, and it's okay.
Things don't need much traction before they blow up.
Yeah.
And they can get taken out of proportion, and things are twisted along party lines, and everything has become politicised in the States. I don't know how wearing a mask has become right or left.
Yeah, that's weird. Did you see the thing where what was the name of that drug that they were? I can't remember.
The malaria drug.
Yeah, and some people were being asked like, "What's your
political ideation?"
Yeah,
while you're being prescribed. So whether to
prescribe
that drug
or
not. Does it work, dickhead? That's what I want. I don't care if it's red or blue.
And just the drug has no concept of right or left. Like what?
Fucking chemical. Like what?
It's like what the hell? It's really weird, and it's terrifying because I feel like it's still gonna it's gonna get worse before it gets better. And I feel like that's the way of everything, like the studio.
but then the argument is that, you know, people say America is broken, but the argument is that it's not broken. I mean, how Black Lives Matter became a left or a right thing is confusing.
Yeah.
And I do wonder how Black Republicans feel. That their parties... I mean, the Republican Party needs to get control... Not to talk about politics, but they need to get control of their party. How does a Black Republican feel?
Yeah, because on one hand, it's like, obviously they probably like, Black Lives Matter, but also, if I speak out about it, it's like, am I going to get...
Yeah, am I
going to lose
am I gonna get
my position and things like that?
Blue Lives Matter, which isn't a thing. There's no such thing as a blue life. I've never met a blue person, not once.
Yeah,
it's a job, which a uniform you can take off.
Yeah, exactly. It's such a weird thing that it became so quickly became like a political thing. I think because there's been a lot of because this isn't the first time BLMs exist. Like,
it's been for a while.
It exists. There's been other times where it's popped up, but it's been put in the same category as like Antifa and things like that, which already have a group of people that are immediately going to hate on it. So I feel like it's just like this preset to like anything that's left wing. They have an acronym.
It's become a lefty thing, but because it's become a lefty thing. That means in order to still be in opposition of left, you have to be right. So all the things on the left I have to be in opposition of. So if the left are for abortion, I have to be against abortion. If the left are for Black Lives Matter, I have to be against Black Lives Matter, which is...
And the trope...
doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, one that doesn't make any sense, and that mindset also leads to people who like... Because Black Lives Matter isn't one thing, you know what I mean? It's a series of different issues.
It should be... It's not partisan. It's not left or right.
Yeah,
it's
and there's people as well who are like, oh, I agree with this, and this, but I don't think this is the best way to go about it. You know what I mean? Or I don't agree with this certain part of it. But if you don't agree with this certain part of it, then they're like, you must be on the right. And then
the problem there is that is nuanced.
Yeah,
you can't put that into 240 characters, whatever it is on Twitter, right? That can't blow up and go viral, and that's not going to get you any clicks.
Yeah,
and comments. But what will is if you say something deliberatory, like inflammatory, and then people chat shit in the comments.
It's like
you get paid. You just count in the dollars while people are chatting shit in the comments.
Yeah, and that's where you get like the slogans that have caused the most. I guess is it slogans really, or just like the sayings? I guess that have caused the most problems for them have also been the ones that have most gone around. Like something like defund the police got posted around, and it doesn't mean
abolish the police,
Yeah, but it got interpreted as that because in 240 characters you can't break down.
But then some people double down and say, let's abolish the police.
Yeah.
And then you get what happened in Seattle.
with
where
Chaz
they're talking.
It was.
They're talking about anti-police violence, and the first thing they do is walk around beating people up.
Yeah, and it's like, hang on a minute.
You know, they're for no borders and immigration, and the first thing they do is build a fucking war.
It's like, nice job. You became exactly what you aimed to.
And that's
destroy.
exactly what happens when civil war happens in countries. And historians are like, yeah, that's what humans do.
Yeah,
They replace oppressive regimes with a more oppressive one.
Yeah, and we've been saying it for years. Fuck, like, you only need to listen to one Crass song, and that's what they're talking about. You know, it's like Crass. I mean, have you listened to a lot of Crass?
No, not a lot.
Fucking amazing punk band, Britain. Like probably not one that you listen to at the gym or just at a party, but one that you're like, this is heavy shit. You know what I mean? Because they had songs that were they were an anarchist punk band, I think, if you were to put it down. But they made songs that criticised like the authoritarian left as well.
Yeah.
Which has become kind of relevant today with whatever's going on. You listen to it, you're like, one, that was ballsy because like punk rock music was not that at the time. You know what I mean? And it's like, and like their songs like Bloody Revolution or White Punks on Hope and things, and it's like, you like, it's punk because it's like you took a risk, and it's like it's well thought out as well. And they have there's some like books written by the he wasn't the lead singer, but he was the one who kind of wrote the lyrics and stuff, because he didn't have the voice, but he had the thought process to get into it. And he has some books in the library that are like really interesting. You can tell he knows what he's on about. And he's like, there's like the start of his book in the library is like I can't remember the name of the book. It's just like, it's probably just called like Crass or something, and then it has their like symbol, which it's like the cross with the same
Celtic cross.
Yeah, that's their one. And it starts off and he goes to this it's like an academic not panel, like a meeting of academics to talk about punk rock and explain it. Yeah. And apparently he kind of got kicked out, and people were like, who the fuck are you to know anything? And it's like, well, that's Penny Rimbaud. He's punk, you know. He's one of the most fucking, one of the biggest bands, one of the best punk bands ever. And they're sitting there like, we're gonna explain to people what punk is in academic terms, but we're not going to listen to you because you don't know what you're on about. It's like, oh, you made a mistake there. He must have gone
to the wrong place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, to open up, really, like, school is not education. So that is an educated person.
Yeah.
From his experience. And from the stuff he's read and the media he's cultivated over the time. You know, he's an educated person, and that education doesn't stop at school. In truth, it doesn't really start until you finish school. When you start to understand the things that you're into. You know, if you're into, you know, makeup and makeup tutorials, there's a fucking deep dive. Some of those people are artists. Like, if you go on one of those YouTube rabbit holes, you end up down the makeup stuff. There's that dude that makes himself look like Beyonce.
Yeah,
he can paint himself to look like Drake, and like.
Yeah, it's impressive. It's seriously impressive. It's like one of the that's a David Lynch thing. He's like, every medium has infinite depth. It's just like not. It's like most people don't take the time to actually go into one thing and just keep pushing it every time. Like, some people feel like, oh, I've reached the peak, and then I'll just keep doing that, you know. But it's like, there's more to it. There's always more to it.
It will never end.
And because
Rodney Mullen still skateboards.
Yeah, and probably still invents tricks. Like, you know what I mean?
Shit that everyone's like, what?
He's an awesome dude as well. He's so nice.
Yeah. Michael Jordan still played basketball.
Yeah.
Because it's never end. There's no perfection.
Yeah. Even though you're like, people say they're chasing perfection, but it's like, you can't reach it, but that's kind of a good thing. You know what I mean?
It's like numbers. Like, if your thing is to just be the richest person in the world, the problem with numbers is that they're infinite. There is no number that means you've won.
Yeah, because someone's going to come along and do it.
Someone's got more.
Do one better and keep pushing.
Humans are jealous.
Yeah.
You always want the next thing. It's the reason we have a society, is because we develop tools and we always push for the next thing. There's no just being content if you're chasing a number. If you're chasing contentment, then you might make that at some point, but numbers never end.
Yeah, that's the one thing. It's like you never. I mean, I agree. This is why the roundabout way I was going to get to. Like, I agree.
But that boils down to why people say money doesn't make you happy. And past, I think it's $70,000 household a year. There's no increase in well-being and happiness.
But yeah, that seems
because $70,000 a year is about the amount of money where all your needs are taken care of, and you're not struggling for bills and money, and you can have treats occasionally and go on holiday, and that's about that amount. So that's what, 50k household a year. So that's lower middle class. That's like middle class.
Yeah,
needs taken care of. You can afford to buy a bike when you get into cycling, or whatever. Or
you can afford to get into what you want to get into.
If you get into whatever it is.
Yeah, and I think that's...
There's no increase in happiness past that. Billionaires, and Bill Gates still goes to work every day.
Yeah.
So does Bezos. Numbers never end. He's not going to... Yeah, that's a well that doesn't end.
Yeah, it's a scary thing when you see people chasing that. Like, a lot of people my age, I see chasing that in different... Not necessarily on, like, my course or, like, the courses related to mine, but in like, business studies or
But if you
other
talk
stuff.
to them, they're not actually chasing money. They're chasing status, which is why they wear a Rolex when they're a fucking student, right? Or they're buying Balenciagas, the socks, shoes that cost £800 or whatever the hell. It's status is what they're after.
Yeah, it's a weird... So status is a weird concept. You know what I mean? Like
that status gives you power as an individual. And if you just look at, like, in terms of evolutionary psychology, like, you want that power, that status... Because it means then you're going to attract the other sex and pass on your genes.
Yeah, that makes
and genes just want to be passed on. That's it. They just want to survive. Makes your life easier when you've got status. You can take care of needs and etc. But
it's the bit where the thing with chasing status, which like so leads to power. But then it's power. It's like you're in control of people then. And in my head, I'm like, that's like almost the last thing. Like maybe it's just like a personal thing for me. Like, I want to be in control of people, like coming to me with their problems and asking me to sort out. I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like, do what you want. Be proficient in whatever you're doing. Like, you're better up. Don't come to me. Figure it out on your own. Like, that's like coming back to school as well. Like, school tells you how to do things. It doesn't. There's no room. Like in skateboarding, it's like, oh, you want to learn how to kickflip? Well, sit and try it 100 times, and maybe you'll get closer to it. Maybe you'll do it. Who knows?
It's trial and error.
As in school, they'll sit and break down all the. This is how you do this. This is how you do that, and you're not really like thinking about why you'd do that. Or
but those are the life lessons that's it's just sport generally is the best metaphor for life for that. But skateboarding's great because the consequences are different. So the consequences of messing up are painful. Yeah. So you are fearful, you're scared, you're supposed to be scared.
Yeah.
Everyone that skateboards is scared of doing a big gnarly stair set. Nigel Houston is still a bit afraid.
Yeah, because
bravery isn't the absence of fear.
Reward.
Yeah, bravery is not the absence of fear. If you're not afraid of it, then it's not bravery. Bravery is being scared and doing it anyway.
Yeah.
So he's still afraid of this. So the consequences of fucking up are dire when he slams and goes into a coma like he did. He knocked himself out.
Did he go into it? Was that right?
He had a fit. He banged his head and went into like an epileptic fit.
Fuck that.
But like the consequences are dire, but you fail over and over and over again until you succeed.
Yeah.
Like that is a perfect life lesson for a kid. And you do it anyway, even though the consequences are dire. If I miss a shot in basketball, the consequences, like just shooting around, the consequence is only psychological, right? The damage is only psychological.
It's like,
if I'm doing the 5 set at Redlands and fuck up, there's a physical consequence and a psychological
and you
one.
feel it the next morning.
I look like a twat and it hurt.
Yeah.
But I'm going to keep going because the reward is worth it.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what you teach children just subconsciously by doing that. So sport is the perfect metaphor for life with that. Team sports teaches you about goals that you have together that you can go out and set and achieve. It's about working collaboratively. It's about finding where your limit is, where you think you're tired, but you've got to keep going. There is a point when you're past tired. I think it's David Goggins who says that, right? Like most people quit at 40%.
Yeah, and then you can push through. That was like it's like when you divers and things when they hold their breath. It's like that when you first start feeling like you have to breathe. That's your body just telling you like in reality you have more time.
Yeah,
you know
it's
what
a
I mean?
CO2 build-up,
yeah.
not an oxygen deficiency.
Yeah, it's like just an early warning almost of like, just so you know. But most people, like, when they feel that as, you know, that is like to them like, oh, this isn't normal. Let's return back to normal. But it's like that thing where you like push through your limits and build on it every time.
And when you do something like that every single day, it could be something tiny. It could be making the shower really cold, but doing it anyway. Yeah. Nobody likes cold showers. Those people that say they like cold showers are psychopaths.
Yeah.
Those people also, they don't exist. Nobody likes cold showers. And anyone listening who says they like cold showers
are lying.
You're fucking lying to me. They suck, right? But you do it because you struggle every day. That's what lifting weights is. It's struggling on purpose.
Yeah.
It's everything. It's like working out, struggling on purpose. You learning a kickflip, it's struggling on purpose. Why are you learning a kickflip? Older people might look at you like, what? Why are you doing this? Or they look at me like, why are you doing that at 30 years old? Why are you learning to kickflip? And it's because I can't kickflip. That's why I'm learning to kickflip.
You want to know.
Because I'm going to win against me. Because that just teaches you how to be good at everything.
I feel like weirdly, in a weird way, it's like we like to also know what the limit is. And then we like to push it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you see it in kids. If you give a kid just total free reign, they just feel lost. But when they know, like when they're pushing against something, like just that little bit to see where it is, it's like that's how they keep like. It gives them something to work towards, or if it's like skateboarding, or if it's like they find where boundaries are that way as well. You know what I mean?
Well, your degree is that. Your degree is struggling on purpose. You don't know what this is. You go to class. You learn this thing.
And you see how
You've
far you
struggled
can
on
push
purpose.
it.
Your assignments are a struggle on purpose.
Yeah, and you see how you kind of test what you can do.
And you grow. Like, you do difficult things.
Yeah, it's like that's kind of how I've approached assignments in first and second year, because they're not. If you look at my uni photography work compared to like my photography work that goes on my Instagram or I do, it's like totally different because I'm like pushing. It's like. If I wasn't at uni, I wouldn't do that type of stuff. I'd just focus on what I'm doing.
Oh, sure. And I'm push boundaries.
Yeah, because I'm like, well, I wouldn't. Yeah, and it's like, well, I wouldn't normally do landscape photos or work with this medium or do this type of project. But at uni, I can do it and just see how it goes.
Yeah, trying new things.
Like I'm like outside of uni, I don't really work with like found photography and things. Like I still like finding photographs and be like, oh, that's cool or whatever. But like. In uni, I did like last year. I did loads of like found footage and found photography work just to see. And then even though it doesn't like directly feed back in, it can like indirectly feed back in.
Yeah,
a way that you might not see it.
It's going to change your life just doing things that you can't do.
Oh yeah,
because then you learn that you can get better at things. Like no one goes from 0 to LeBron James or Michael Jordan. You don't go from 0 to LeBron James. LeBron wasn't born LeBron James in that sense. He was named LeBron James, but that's it. He had to build who LeBron James is. Yeah, there's some genetic gifts. He's 6'8", 260, whatever.
Yeah.
But there's people around that are 6'8", 260 that aren't LeBron James.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he built to be that, and he does difficult things every single day. Everybody
pushes himself.
But the goal maybe isn't to become LeBron James. Like I'm not skateboarding to become Nigel Houston. I didn't start skateboarding to become a professional skateboarder. I started because I can't do it. Yeah. And it annoys me that I can't do it. And I'm addicted to the point where now it annoys me so much I want to quit but can't.
It's
so I'm in.
It sounds on the surface it sounds insane because you're like more addicted to the failure than the in a weird way.
It's that like, little release of dopamine when you land, or just when the board flips as you intended, and you're like, oh, I'm close, I'm close, and it works. Or you land on it and fall, and the fall's not bad. You're like, I've got this. I can do this today.
Have you ever found like when you first try something, after that first because there's a lot of attempts which are just like pathetic, but that first one where you slam, and then you're like. Now it's on. Now I'm like past that little fear bit. Like,
the first fall. Once I get that first fall out, I'm like, oh okay.
Now I can go for it.
I'm actually not going to get hurt. I mean that might be a lie, But in my head, it's like,
Yeah.
I'm actually okay.
Like I survived.
Like, it's not that bad. Or if I come ollieing onto something that's a bit too high for me and I hang up my back truck on it, I
Yeah.
just end up flying off the top and walking away. Like, oh,
Okay.
I can commit. It's not that bad. And then it's on.
Yeah.
Like, the game is on.
It's like
It's me versus...
changes. That's the point.
It's me versus me.
It's
Because
like,
physically, I mean, I know I can jump as an athlete way higher than the things I can ollie onto. Obviously, I think basically every human can.
yeah, because you've been jumping longer.
Can jump.
I mean,
Yeah,
you
you've
learn
been
how to
jumping
jump
a lot
when
longer,
you're 4 years old.
So I know physically it's possible for me to get up there. And I've seen other people get up there with a skateboard. So physically it's possible to ollie up this curb with a skateboard, right? I know that physically it's possible. I've seen it been done.
Yeah.
So it's me against me. It's not me against the board. That's an inanimate object that's supposed to do as I ask. If it doesn't do as I ask, it's because my feet are in the wrong place, my weight's in the wrong place. So now it's like a big, not to like intellectualize skateboarding, but it's a puzzle. To me, it's like a Rubik's Cube that has consequences when I can't do it or when I mess up. So what that teaches me is just super duper valuable.
Yeah, and it's sort of going back to what you said about like I've seen other people do it. Do you ever think about like if you go back and look at like old skateboarding and they're figuring out shit for like the first time? Like I can't even get into the mindset of like Mark Gonzalez being like, maybe we can jump on a handrail, you know, and slide down it, you know, like what?
But that comes from like play.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Like it's like creativity. I mean, like basketball is the sport that I know more than skateboarding. Skateboarding is like a recent obsession for me.
Yeah.
But if you look at like 50s basketball, it's very different to now. You play within a rule set. But when you do something that doesn't break the rules, but it's kind of like cheating, it's a new move. Like, what the fuck is he doing? We can't stop that. And then it evolves, and then it changes, and then...
Because it was like, wasn't goal hanging a big thing, like in basketball? I don't know, wasn't there someone who could literally, he was massive, so he just stood in front of the hoop, and that kind of like forced the game to change.
I mean, if you're big, if you meet the same team in the finals every year, and they've got a giant guy, you need a giant guy. In order to compete. Like basketball's changed now where it's all skill based. So like European players come into the NBA and they're big guys that can dribble, pass and shoot.
Yeah.
So now the American big guys, or obviously there were Americans that can still do that the whole time, but let's just say the other big guys weren't like that. They're now not in the middle of the floor protecting the basket, and now the tiny little skilled guys can get in and lay it in.
And that's that depth coming in, you know? There's like new layers. Whenever it's like, at first it's like, in anything that's competitive, when you start off, you're capitalizing on other people's mistakes, and then they stop making those mistakes. So you have to start, and you have to start making them make mistakes, and then you have to like, you know, find different ways to like create those holes.
Adapt,
like
you change, you know, and then Steph Curry comes and he's shooting from fuck knows where. At some ridiculously high clip, and it changes the game because now it's cool to shoot threes. It used to be kind of lame. It used to be like you'd be like one guy who shoots threes, so you only really shoot a couple a game because it was cool to dunk because Michael Jordan was playing. And then, you know, Steve Nash is playing, and Allen Iverson, it becomes cool to handle the ball, and it becomes cool to pass, and
it's that
there's people that change the game because they adapt to what is going on. They read the situation in front of them and adapt to what's going on. And that's a lesson for life. Sport is the metaphor for life. 100%. It's perfect for kids. Boys and girls need to do something. Because then you don't have a fat 12-year-old running around. Not just for that.
Yeah.
But also,
you know, it creates a mindset.
It creates their mindset. It's that growth mindset that obstacles are something to be overcome, not barriers that are going to hold you back.
Yeah, and that's important. Like, do you remember the first time you got good at something? Like, you know what I mean? Because for me, it was like I'm not the fucking best skateboarder, but I feel like I now know how to like learn a trick. You know what I mean? That for me is like it's not about being the good, but like when you first get to the point where you're like, I understand this. You know what I mean?
I know the path on how someone could possibly get good enough to become a professional skateboarder. I understand that, and I understand the dedication that it takes. because of basketball. So because of what I dedicated to basketball, I understand what that then takes to be good at everything else. And so then I just apply that to other stuff. If I wanted to be the best plumber in the world, I could apply that to plumbing.
Yeah, in theory,
and just, I suck at plumbing, I'm going to keep working at plumbing until I suck less than that.
Yeah.
Rinse and repeat. And you just continue that process.
And you get to that point of, like in chess, they call it like intentionality, where it's like you're no longer just doing like, because when you first start something, you're sort of just experimenting, you know, you're just trying things and maybe something sticks and you start eliminating options. But when you get to the point of like intentionality, where you're like, you know what you're doing when you do it, like, and for me, like that one's like fighting games. Like when you first start playing Street Fighter, like you just kind of, you're just mashing buttons, and then maybe you throw a fireball or something cool happens, and you're like, oh, whoa, what happened there? But you can't repeat it. But then as you get better, it's like, or like, you know, you're like, oh, like I can figure out ways to do that every time. And then you're like, oh, now I know when to pull it out, because just spamming it over and over again is not working anymore, because like people expect it.
When you become more detail orientated. So it's the bit of basketball that's no longer just running past somebody and jumping really high and shooting. It's the manipulation. It's like I'm reading exactly where your weight is, the direction you're moving in, you know, split second, split time.
And that's where it comes to like the more psychological side, because I feel like anything competitive, so whether it's sports, skateboarding, esports, whatever, it's like a balance between like physical and psychological, and everything kind of lies somewhere along that line. Like chess isn't very physical, but it's very psychological based and thinking based. But then you have like, I don't know, because like basketball still has thinking, but still it's like you have to jump, you have to run, you got to keep up your energy and stuff.
Like sport is,
so it's more both. To that end. There's like a mix, and
which is, it's weird, there's a stereotype that athletes are stupid, which if you just look at even podcasts when athletes are on, there's not a single person who's been really, really good at their thing that's not cerebral. There's none that are like a bit dense.
It just doesn't happen.
Like fighters as well, they have a reputation of being dumb. And it's just not.
But they can't be, because then you'd get destroyed.
Absolutely wankered. Like it's not even close to true.
But that's unless you were like literally built out of like metal or something. Unless you were a complete like, but no one is. So it's like you can't. I think
it's because to have longevity in a sport, you have to grow and adapt. If you're built different, if you're just a crazy athlete, the best athlete the planet has ever seen, but you're dumb, it doesn't take long before everybody else adapts.
It out. That's
some cerebral bugger who's also a bit of an athlete, close to you, maybe not the same, but that psychological advantage that that person has, that he or she has, is going to make them better than you.
Well, it's David and Goliath. You know what I mean? It's that whole thing. It's like you can't just.
Maybe that's what that story was about.
Yeah, I mean, so maybe we've done a Bible study. Apparently, is what this has become.
There is knowledge to be found in those religious texts.
Oh no, 100%. That's what they were for.
That's what they're for.
You know,
those stories.
It is like, I think that's the problem. It's like there are people who will go in depth on like religious texts and stuff, and you can pull something from it, whether you're critiquing it or just thinking about what the story's having. Like, I'm not religious, so you're not. I can't imagine you to be a religious type, but like, you know, there's stuff there, and if it's you know, it teaches people. You know, it's like anything; it can be used as a tool. You know, if it helps you.
Anything that comes in contact with humans gets manipulated and used for a different purpose.
Becomes controlling. You know, that's where like the biggest thing with religion. It's like, are you controlling people to do things that they wouldn't necessarily do, that aren't necessarily good either? And it's like, that's when it becomes like
it's like you're not paying taxes because you're a church, and it's like,
okay,
what? I have to pay tax. Why don't you pay tax?
Yeah, it's a weird thing, and I think that's the problem with religion. It could be super powerful tool if you didn't have to be like 100% committed to it. You know what I mean? Because there's like, obviously there's use in these stories, but also then it's like, well, now you have to go to church every week, otherwise you're not gonna. It's like, really? Do I? You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
It's like, that's where it loses me.
Yeah, but then when you talk to like really switched on religious people, like there are Catholic physicists.
Oh yeah.
And when you talk to people like that, they'll tell you, oh yeah, but like God is all knowing, and so he knows if you're a bit of a knob. So if you're a knob and you go to church every Sunday, he knows that going to church every Sunday is not what it's about. It's about not being a knob.
Yeah. It's it's one of those things where it is what you make of it, you know what I mean? Like, I don't necessarily believe in a God or even an afterlife as such, but some
But
people
all they're about is just be nice. All the religions are just be nice.
At the heart of it. And they
and
just
that's lesson 1 in nursery. You learn that at 2. Just be nice. You know, share. And be nice. We learn that at 2 years old, and then you realise again when you're in your 40s, you're like, oh, we should be nice and
that
share.
Makes sense now.
We should help people and teach and give back.
Kind of, and try
look
and
after the planet we live on, maybe.
Build each other. I think that's where like school kind of fucks you on that, because you're constantly being told in school, especially secondary school and stuff, they're like, you got these exams coming up. If you fuck these up, you're fucked. And then it becomes this like competitive, but in a negative competitive way, not in a way that you're both trying to get better. It's like, I'm trying to fuck you over. I'm going to get mine and make sure you don't get yours, so then I have the advantage later on.
Yeah, there's something about young humans that is that too, that it's competition.
Because it's just like...
You got low self-esteem as well, and it's...
Yeah, and you've just got that... Especially like, I went to a boys' school, and the testosterone just thrown around, and it's kind of this. And I imagine the girls' school has this problem as well, where there's nothing to like balance it out at a certain point. So when you're in like year 9, which is like the middle of it, it's like you've been there for 3 years. You're going to be there for another 2, possibly 4 years if you do the other 2 years, and it's like you're in the middle of it, and that's your world at that point. And it's like, since leaving school, it's like from going from school to university, my mindset just switched immediately, because it's like the balance of people around me had adjusted, you know, from being just around. Okay, now we're actually back. Yes, right, we're going. Back. God, batteries, man. Jesus Christ. Do you remember what we were talking about? Not a fucking clue. I think we were talking about religion. So, you know, light subject matter we were in.
I don't remember where we were going.
I don't know. We were just talking...
Sport at some point.
Yeah, sport, psychology, then David and Goliath. So, God, we were jumping around, man. We were... learning. One of those things where you don't...
I don't know.
Like, so this is where me not planning anything backfires, because it's just like...
But then it's a real conversation, isn't it?
Yeah, which I definitely prefer. I've been...
Yeah, that's what I like to listen to.
Like, before I started, I was like, I'm just going to watch as many different podcasts to see, because they all kind of do it differently. Because, like, we're both, like, Rogan fans, as it were. Because that was, like... And, like, his ones are just conversation. And I watched some other ones, and even things like intro music started to bug me after a while on some. I'm like, God. There was one I was watching, and there was an episode, and it was a guest that I was kind of like, oh, that's cool. It was 5 minutes into the recording before it actually started. Not adverts. It was just like him explaining what a podcast is. And I was like, get on with it. Come on. Just let's go.
I mean, I've done intros to mine that are me talking about the episode. I've had one that's an advert.
Fair enough. I can see it being useful at times.
And I had intro music, but it's like 10 seconds. It's not even 10 seconds. It's 5 seconds. It's literally like
I don't mind like
bars.
Little things when it's concise. I feel like sometimes they're like rambling. You know, sometimes it's like, you don't need this. Just get into it. I'll get the gist.
Yeah, I mean, I thought about getting rid of them completely and literally just going. So because it was difficult to get academics, and obviously I've not been getting them at all during this period for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Because it was difficult to like get academic schedules because everybody's so flipping busy.
Yeah.
I figured I'd start doing more just on my own.
You did. There was one where it was just
myself,
you. Yeah,
just rambling.
Yeah.
I think that
How did you find that as a experience because I don't know whether I could do it without
I don't
someone
think
to
it's
bounce
very.
off of.
I don't think that one's very good. That podcast, but I lose my train of thought a lot when I'm talking by myself.
Yeah.
Which we've changed subjects about 20 times today. It just happens.
Yeah.
I've had a few concussions, so my brain just doesn't do as it's told sometimes. But
yeah, I think it's like a weird skill. Like, you know when people who are just really good at just talking off the cuff, like almost ranting sometimes.
Yeah, that's why podcasts fit comedians so well.
Oh yeah, like comedians are really good at it. Like,
because that's what they do. That's
like,
who they are.
Especially like the people who are masters at just like going off on like a story or just a rant about an idea. Like Patrice O'Neill's a master.
Oh
of
yeah,
it.
podcasting would have suited Patrice so well.
Yeah, and
my favourite podcast I've just got into at the minute is Tim Dillon.
I was watching Tim Dillon's last night. His characters and stuff.
Just turns it on and go. Oh yeah, he's
so
good.
funny.
But he just turns it on and goes because he's that kind of guy. He's just a rant.
Yeah, it's brilliant. He's almost like sometimes his voice reminds me of like Alex Jones.
Yeah,
do you ever get that?
Like
sometimes you're like,
Well, it's a voice that spent his life shouting. And,
yeah,
you know,
brilliant. He's like definitely one of the funniest ones.
And
like,
he knows that we don't matter.
Yeah, he doesn't take himself too seriously, and it's works so well.
Nothing matters anyway. That's just his.
I can get behind that in a sense. Like, I think if there's meaning, but it's whatever you make it. You know what I mean?
But
there's no like.
I mean, if you talk to a physicist, there's no meaning. What are you alive for? Like 100? Not to be bleak, but what are you alive for? Let's just say, for round number purpose, you have 100 years. What's that in the age of the Earth? Even the age of the Earth means fuck all in the age of the universe.
Well, yeah,
and it's infinite.
Yeah.
So
infinite.
You mean nothing. It goes on forever and ever and ever, and there's no end.
From that objective standpoint, but is in like day to day, like for me, my purpose is like at the moment making podcasts. More generally, taking photos, which like outside of my world, but no one gives a shit.
You can hold those two conflicting thoughts on the world. You can think,
oh yeah,
these things like art is beautiful and it evokes feelings and all of that. And for you, your art is photography. But you can also think, but it doesn't actually matter if that I exist means nothing.
Oh yeah, it all goes away. It's all forgotten eventually.
Nothing. It's completely forgotten.
And like,
and we worry about whether Starbucks has our milk, whether it has oat milk instead of cow's milk,
and whether that oat milk is. Did you see the thing the other day about this oat milk company being like linked to deforestation?
Yeah,
is it Oatly? I don't know who it was.
I think the company was bought.
Yeah, and they were somehow linked to deforestation.
They were bought by a company that deforests.
Yeah, and it's like, oh man, how do people have time?
But
people must have time.
That's rocks and glass houses. Not every human has access to clean water.
Yeah,
and shelter.
Yeah,
and that's not just restricted to third world countries. Like in the first world, Flint, Michigan has brown water. Yeah, still,
crazy.
Still,
yeah, it's like whoa.
There's not. I mean, Nestle tried to take water coming off the human rights.
Oh yeah, that was really weird. That was during the fires as well.
Pay for it, yeah.
And it was like the scummiest time you could have done that, and
for sure.
They did it, and it's like, oh. But you see that as well when people
bought loads of toilet roll and sold them for 80 quid.
Yeah, exactly.
And then 2 weeks later, they were back to being worth £2.
Yeah,
I just feel sorry for the people on eBay that bought those toilet rolls.
Yeah, and now
there was never a toilet roll shortage. It's just somebody went into the shop and bought all the toilet rolls.
So it appeared like a shortage. You know what I mean?
It's just like if I went into the shop right now and bought all the frozen peas, there'd be no frozen peas in Sainsbury's.
Yeah. And that looks like a shortage.
And it looks like there's a shortage of frozen peas. And then people would go mad and buy all the frozen peas. It only takes a coordinated effort of maybe 10 people to go into each supermarket and buy all the peas.
Yeah,
and we could make a pea shortage story.
Did you go into I imagine you did at some point, go into a supermarket at the start of lockdown. And it was like, what the fuck
I just wanted
There's just
tomato.
stuff ripped open and stuff everywhere. You're like, we've gone mad, like, so quickly for no reason. It was insane to see.
Like the first 2 weeks of the lockdown, I didn't go food shopping. For that reason, I just knew it would be fucked.
I
had food, I had stuff like dry goods and all that shit. I had all that stuff. I had a giant bag of pasta from before the lockdown, so I was all right. But
yeah, it was.
But
so
yeah,
weird.
I didn't panic buy any of that because there's no food shortage. It's all sat in a warehouse, just waiting for the lorries to deliver it.
Basically, yeah.
It's a shortage because you bought it.
Yeah, it was a weird time. Well, people thought it was the fucking apocalypse. Like, people were just... I feel like we're just
but if it is, run into Asda. It's,
not going to save you.
It's not. When the power goes, what are you going to do? You're going to eat those tin tomatoes? What are you going to do? Cold beans?
Yeah. Eat a toilet roll.
Yeah,
like,
it's not...
Like a fucking ballerina.
It's not the... You know, if the power grid goes... If it is the apocalypse, then we're done.
Yeah, that's crazy. I feel like
what it did do though is it helped people realise how fragile
everything
society is.
How it could just be taken away really quick.
Yeah, it's really fragile.
It exposed
chaos
that
isn't far away. Riots are not far away because when you've got no food and your kids are hungry, and your neighbour's got food. Guess where you're going going shopping. You can be a really good person, but when your children are hungry, it sort of changes who you are.
Yeah, that's kind of... I think it exposed how, like, the fake things are in the modern world.
Very thin veneer over normalcy.
It kind of exposed that for a minute and gave people that... Like, a lot of people have been like, yeah, this quarantine's been like a reset on life for some people, you know, and it's been like, oh, I don't have to live in this way that's not making me happy and stuff, because I know it's all just kind of this set up game on top of everything.
Lots of people have realised things that I realised as a kid. That's not to suck my own dick there. That's just... I just realised this, and a lot of people do. Like, people that hate 9-to-5 jobs realise this, that actually you're paying me for my time. You're paying me to be in an office for 8 hours a day. The job doesn't take 8 hours.
Yeah.
You're just paying me to be there for 8 hours. And you know that the job doesn't take 8 hours, because then when you're in quarantine or everyone's locked down, you do it in 4 hours and then spend the rest of the time playing Xbox or
exactly. And it's still got done.
Teaching your kids, and you got it done, and it's fine, and the job doesn't take that long. And you can do it from home. Why am I forced to wear a tie and sit in a call centre?
Yeah,
I can talk to people at home.
Yeah, exactly.
While I'm,
and it makes no difference if I'm wearing a tie or not.
Yeah,
it's a weird thing. I think working from home's it's like anything. It can be good or it can be awful, because working
some
from
people
home
don't like it, and that's fine.
Yeah, I feel like there's probably some fucking bosses out there who are real dicks about it, and they're like, well, your office is at home now, so I don't care if it's 10 o'clock at night. You can,
for sure.
You can just go downstairs and do it. Do it now.
Sure, there are people that do that. But you take your work home with you anyway. You put work emails on. People put work emails on their phone.
Yeah, exactly. And they're
always reachable.
Like, it always kind of scares me a little bit when we're on holiday and my mum's answering work emails.
Yeah,
like,
academics are the worst for that.
Yeah.
Absolutely the worst for that.
And she's like, well, if I don't reply, then they'll get, like, annoyed. It's mainly students. Like, who will get
stupid email.
And it's like, oh my god.
Sometimes the emails are great and you need to... They need help. Sometimes it's real things.
Yeah.
A lot of the times it's not a real thing. It's something that's actually written in a module guide or something I said last week or something like that. And that's fine, it's your job to help the students, and that's great.
But there's like, you have to sort of self-impose that limit. There's like...
5 p.m. I'm not reachable to you.
Yeah.
Because that's when I stop getting paid to be reachable.
Yeah, and honestly, fair enough.
And I agree. And if taking your work home with you and answering emails at 10 is a problem to you, just don't do it. Do the cut-off at 5, because legally that's when you're getting paid for that time.
But people get locked into it in that weird way, don't they? They're like, I'm meant to be on it all the time, ready
there
at
are hours per
notice.
week in your contract. Work those hours.
Yeah.
And then fuck off.
It's that...
Do something else.
It's that weird... It's a weird thing where, like... Because students don't think about it. They'll still send an email on Saturday and Sunday. And I probably have as well, because I lose track of what day it is, and then I don't think about it. But it's like... God, like, a couple generations ago, it was like no one works on Sunday.
Sacrilege to do anything.
Do you know what I
Sunday,
mean?
Yeah.
And, like, in a weird way, people were like, oh, we work on Sunday now, we don't give a shit. And people are like, oh, but that's like... kind of like, I'm not religious, but having a day where it's just agreed that we all don't do anything, like we all chill out, is probably a good idea in some ways, But I think because everyone lives...
Well, a 3-day week would be nice.
Yeah,
you work hard for 3 days and then
Yeah.
be off.
And then those other 4, like...
And that's
Get to
staggered,
work
so
on
some
things.
people will have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday where they work. Some people
Yeah.
will work Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
But, like...
You know.
I mean, maybe that doesn't work for everyone, because they're, like people...
If that doesn't work, just get 2 jobs. Get
Yeah.
2 3-day jobs.
Or I mean, if... yeah.
Twice the cash.
Yeah. Or
Because-
I
but
mean
it's
the
because-
other way, where people, like procrastinate, or they don't want to do, like, 3 days, like, focused. You know what I mean? They'd rather... Like, some people like dripping it out through the week. You know what I
But-
mean? It's
and
like
that's-
people work in different ways.
That's fine. They
You know?
they can do that, but then don't complain about your circumstances.
Well,
Don't complain that you have to spend 8 hours in an office to do a
Mm.
job that takes 2.
Oh yeah, it's
It's a place to go, and that's what school has taught you. School
Mm.
is... I mean, you sit in an assembly line. You have to ask permission to piss. You leave when the bell rings. As an adult, you're like, I'm going home.
Asking permission to piss was like a culture shock for me at uni, when it was like, wait, I can just get up and go. Like,
Yeah, no
what?
one.
Imagine if I did that in a classroom. The teacher would shout at you for like,
Yeah.
like for the rest of the lesson. You'd be fucking berated for that. But then I had like being uni, and people just got up to like take phone calls and stuff. I'm like,
Yeah,
you can do that.
You're
Like that was an option.
paying to be here.
Mm. Yeah.
Like, you don't have to only read things I tell you to read.
Yeah.
It's
There's
not.
more.
It's not school. Like, if you're not into cognitive psychology, and I'm teaching you cognitive psychology,
Mm.
you're going to be bored, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But then use your time at university firstly to build contacts, obviously with
Mm.
the students that you know,
Yeah.
because it's always useful to know a lawyer
Yeah.
or whatever.
I agree. Could come in handy.
It's nice if your mate is a plumber. So if your mate you went to school with is a plumber, then you've always got a plumber, and he's always got a geographer if you study geography. I picked on geography a few times today. Or whatever, right?
Mm.
So you use it to build contacts, but use university to find whatever your thing is. There are some things that you need a degree to do.
Oh yeah.
If you want to be a doctor, you need
Yeah.
to study medicine, and
Mm.
that's an undergraduate degree. You need to do that. 5-year undergraduate, I think that is, right?
Yeah.
You need to do it. If you want to be an architect, I think you need to do it. You need the training, the graphic stuff.
Yeah, no one wants to be in an office that falls down while they're in it because you didn't do your homework.
So you need the technical training because you need to give your ideas to someone who can actually build things with materials.
Mm.
So you need the theoretical basis of how materials work. Otherwise, an engineer would just be like, "Mate, you can't build that. Like, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's going to fall over
You haven't-
or whatever." Engineering, you need to study, or like physics. Like, there's things that you need to study. There's things that maybe you don't need to go to university to technically do, but you might want to go to university to understand those skills, to build the skills. It's not about doing the assignments and getting the piece of paper at the end. The piece of paper means fuck all, because when you get the next piece of paper, nobody asks you.
Yeah.
When I got my master's, nobody asks me what I did for my undergraduate. When I get my PhD, no one cares about what I did. In fact,
Yeah,
they don't
'cause
even
you're beyond
care
that.
what your PhD is in,
Mm.
what field it's in. They just see doctor in front of your name and think, oh, this person's not a
Knows
dickhead.
what it is on
They're
that.
obviously smart in some way. Let's make their car insurance cheaper. Or, which is true, they do that, but or whatever, right?
Fair enough.
It's a symbol of who you are
Mm.
and that you're able to achieve this thing. And that's it. But it doesn't mean that you're proficient.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, there's a lot of students who get good grades who can't do what their degree is.
And there's students who
and I see
drop
that
out
in
of
lots different
university
things.
because during that first year they find the thing that they're into.
Yeah, I see that.
All those big tech Silicon Valley people dropped out of Harvard, right? They
Mm.
went there but they didn't finish.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason they dropped out.
Mm.
Bill Gates found what he wanted to do and thought,
Did that.
I actually don't need to finish this. I'm ready.
I mean, fair enough. It's kind of one of those things where it gives you, if anything, uni, like a degree, it's 3 years. For me, that's time to build on what I want to do. You know what I mean? It gives me that freedom where I don't have to be like worrying about life stuff. It's like 3 years where I can commit to doing things that I want to do fully. For
It's
those
great
3
to get
years.
paid for your passion. And then So find what that passion is. See if you can become good at it enough where someone might give you some money for it. The alternative is there will always be shit jobs that people do for money.
Oh yeah.
So if your passion is hanging around with your mates, kicking it at a skate park and fucking about, but you're not going to be a pro skateboarder. No one's going to pay you to skateboard because you suck a little bit.
Yeah.
But you just like chilling and beers and hill bums and fucking about.
Yeah.
You might work a job just to pay for that, but you'll be happy.
Oh yeah. 100%.
Because you're doing the thing you want to do.
And also there's...
No one likes a guy who's crying in his yacht.
Yeah.
And that happens.
Yeah, it does. It's a sad
happens.
reality. Sad rich people
those are the
exist
suicides.
everywhere.
Yeah, those are the suicides. People that chase money, and then once they achieve this millions and they realise that now they're divorced and their kids don't talk to them because they've neglected their family in order to chase this money because they've been taught that money will make them happy. When they realise it doesn't, now they have nothing. Because now they have the money and they're still not happy.
It's one of those things where there's no depth to it. You know what I mean? Imagine if you'd made your life skateboarding and you're committed to learning that kickflip. You know, you spend your life learning a kickflip, you finally land one, but then obviously in skateboarding there's more. But imagine if there wasn't any more. Yeah. That was the end of skateboarding, and then you're like, well, what now? You know what I mean? Like that's what happens to these business guys. They're like committed to making their money, and then they're like, they get to that point, and then it's like, oh, there's nothing to push against now. I'm just...
And you
can
have both. There are people that don't neglect their family and become CEOs, for sure.
Oh yeah,
there are people that are happy CEOs, and that's great.
Yeah.
But, you know, if your passion is being a nail technician, do that.
Yeah.
Why do you have to... You don't have to be a millionaire. It actually doesn't make things easier.
And
YouTube has enabled people to become very rich from anything.
Yeah.
There are people that pour paint out of bottles and get millions of views. Mm-hmm.
Well, there's guys who do the hanging at the skate parks with their friends drinking beers, make a video out of that.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't
vlogging,
have,
daily...
You know what I mean?
You know,
vlogging, or just skate videos are so open. Like, it doesn't have to be some dude doing the biggest and the best. It's just
some skate videos are really good when the skating's sort of mediocre.
Yeah, but it's like the Baker videos. Obviously, they're fucking sick skateboarders as well. But the reason the Baker videos are so amazing is like because of like the hijinks and stuff like that. You know, like
it's kids filming themselves skate. They just happen to be in their 30s.
Yeah,
But
basically.
they're children.
Oh yeah,
still,
absolutely.
But also that's what professional athletes you get to be. You get to be a primary school kid with money, hanging about with your friends. You know, that's what you get to do when you're an athlete.
It's cool to see. It's because people like, it's kind of a sad thing though, because like, you watch those videos and you're like, man, that looks so fun. You know, it's like this weird like fantasy thing. It's like when you watch a movie and it's like a sort of a power fantasy thing, you're like, oh, that's so cool. But in a movie, you're like, that's not real. But then when you're watching like a skate video, it's like, they are actually hanging out and having fun. It's like, well, why aren't I hanging out and having fun? You know?
Yeah.
Like, I get that feeling when I go on like a podcast binge. Like, you know what I mean? You watch too many podcasts and then you see a comment where people are like, I really like this podcast because it feels like I'm hanging out with them. And I'm like, fuck, I wish I was actually just hanging out with someone right now instead of watching someone else hang out with someone having a good time. And then you're like, what am I doing? Like, you know what I mean?
That's why those podcasts are popular, because we crave that human connection and conversation. And television and radio is boiled down into tiny little snippets. And the world is nuanced. Like, issues are really complicated.
Yeah.
They can't be explained and explored
in 20
hour. Seconds. Like, no one can explain their nuanced opinion on something that's risque and possibly offensive in 20 seconds. You're going to be offensive by accident. 20 seconds is not enough. If you are still racist, you still come across to me as racist after a 3-hour podcast, then guess what? You're racist.
There's no
right. There's no way of appearing as though you're accidentally racist in 3 hours.
Yeah, because it's gonna, you know,
it's gonna come off that way.
Yeah, because it's just like, it's like one of those, like, I think about who's like got their, like, basically like someone like Patrice O'Neill has his life philosophy online through, you know, he was on like O&A a lot, so there's just like footage of him talking for hours online, you know, and he was one of those guys who never really was on TV a lot. Like he was on TV and stuff, but he was
specials,
like,
I think.
yeah, like a few specials, but one of the best specials ever.
Sure, yeah.
Like holy shit! But like, you know, he was never like a celebrity, but he's like, you can go online and there's like a dedicated following, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because some people take him too literally. When he's like, guys, come on, he's a comedian. Like he is joking sometimes. Like you can't take his word for it on everything.
They just say things to make you laugh.
Mm.
That's it. That's the benchmark. They're not.
Yeah.
If it makes you laugh, it doesn't. To them, it doesn't matter what it was.
Yeah, it
like
was.
they're
It
class
did its
clowns.
job.
That's their thing. Is like, I just want to make you laugh. If that's the most horrific shit I could possibly say as a human being, then guess what I'm going to say? Because that's their job.
It gets
right?
a laugh.
Their job is
You
to
know
make
what I
you
mean?
laugh.
And it's like, plus also it's like you have people who take Patrice O'Neill at face value and follow it religiously, and I'm like, you haven't been through what Patrice went through. You know what I mean? It's like this thing where people just like Patrice's views can seem very sexist and things like that, but he got like caught up in a system that vilified him for something that he maybe shouldn't have been, you know, arrested for and stuff. And it's like, I can understand through what he's experienced where he's coming from.
Yeah, he's also saying jokes.
Oh yeah, and there's comedy mixed in. He's like,
you know, it's fun. It's supposed to be funny, and it's like tongue-in-cheek funny. So it's like when people make this stupid joke to feminists about making them a sandwich.
Yeah, which was funny the first time, and then it got old.
And then
that's the thing where it gets stale.
It's like a your mum joke.
Yeah,
it's like, all right, that was funny in the 90s.
Yeah, come on, dude. Think of something new. Keep up.
Like,
you know, adapt. Back to what we were saying.
Well, that's
earlier.
what she said. Like, oh wow, well done, dude.
That show is. How old is that? That was from The Office, wasn't it? How old's that now? Fucking.
Oh, the US. Yeah, The Office is super old.
It's like 10. Got to be at least 10 years. Like the early seasons, right?
Yeah, it's got to be.
God damn. Come on. Move on.
Yeah.
Adapt. Build on it. There's more depth to go into if you want to carry across what we said earlier.
But that's and it's related to like the struggling on purpose thing. There's a if there's no drama, we will create drama. If there isn't an issue for us or an enemy, we will create an enemy. That's what humans do. We're, you know, an evolutionary psychologist will tell you, you know, I guess you'd have to speak to one that probably sound wrong, but you would have to. You have a fear of outsiders built into you because outsiders bring outsider disease. And
that's
what wiped out most of the Native Americans.
Yeah, that's like the disgust response, isn't it?
Oh, there's
that ties into that into a sense. It's like that's where that comes from. It's because they're
like, yeah, you're afraid of weird pathogens. You know, you're attracted to members of the opposite or same sex that aren't similar to you genetically. That avoids inbreeding.
Yeah,
like there's all these things built into us that we really don't know enough of, and that's, I mean, the purpose of psychology is to understand human behaviour and why we behave the way we do. But it's we've not even scratched the surface. We don't know what most of the brain even fucking does.
Yeah,
we don't know why with my research, why the drugs affect your brain in that way. You know, why is MDMA good at treating PTSD? Are we relearning trauma? When you take LSD, what are you seeing, and why is it that you see similar things to this person sees when taking LSD?
Yeah,
you know, is it because it's affecting this certain area of the brain, and those are the hallucinations caused by that? Why do you feel as though you've met Mother Nature? Why, even though a materialist will tell you it's not real, does it feel like it's something? Why does it feel like you've had a profound experience?
But with like LSD or psychedelic trips are weird because people rate them when they have a proper psychedelic experience like that, where they fucking go. Yeah. They rank it in like one of the highest, like as one of their most important life experiences. Profound, in like the top 5, and it's like that's up there with, you know,
birth of children and
marriage and things like that. It's like it's a crazy, like that concept's like something's going on there. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's all in your head, but something's going on there that it's like changed their outlook on life. And it's like, whoa.
So whether you argue whether that experience is real or not, whether you're actually meeting Mother Nature, lots of people say it's a feminine energy that you'll meet. Whether you're actually meeting God or Mother Nature or the devil if it goes really bad, whether you're actually meeting anything or not, you can say that that's fake, that that's not real, but it produces a change in your real life behaviour. So it's at the very least real in that sense. It's real that it produces a change in who you are.
Even like bad trips, though. I feel like people want to.
There's a lesson.
Like, yeah, exactly. People want to avoid bad trips because it's like, I mean, people want to avoid bad things, but I feel like bad trips, there's probably a reason it's happening. We don't necessarily know what it is. That's for you to interpret, I guess. But it's like, there's something in you that's, you know, causing that reaction for whatever reason it might be. So I feel like it's one of those things where it's like, you know, the risk is that, you know, you take one of these drugs and you have a bad time for 9 hours, but also it's like, maybe you deserve it. maybe there's a reason for it and you've got to get through it.
Talking to some of my participants, like some of the things that have come up is it's when you're trying to control the experience, and it teaches you stop trying to control shit, idiot.
Yeah, because you just cause it to
Here's
go
a bunch of
haywire.
snakes.
Yeah,
you're trying to control it.
Yeah,
and you know, a psychedelic experience isn't something you can just turn off to answer the door to the pizza guy. It's not like weed. You can just you can kind of pretend to act sober when you're drunk, right? But try not to see the walls melting. That's not gonna, you know, you try and control it, it's gonna go bad. That's what the participants are telling me. But
it's like,
but that's a lesson in itself.
It's a strange brand of drugs, psychedelics. They have some potential in them that's different to anything else.
Yeah, there's like a medicinal potential. Yeah, for sure.
Which is like what we were going back to what we were saying earlier about things becoming politicised is awful, because all these types of things exploring what these drugs are is held back by like
weed legalization in America is a partisan issue.
It's like,
which it shouldn't be.
Yeah, and like the war on drugs and things is like, it's like weed was illegalized to save someone's fucking trees, basically, for his newspapers and
William
shit.
Randolph Hearst stuff, the paper mills.
And then LSD and psychedelics, the reason they went to Class A was so they could go in and arrest civil rights people, because they were like, we can't just arrest them because they're saying, because it's free, that would be anti-free speech, but we know there's drugs involved with this movement, so let's just bump these up and then we can go in and just take out the leaders through that, like, systematically. You know,
Nixon did the same thing with the Black Panther movement. It was
and it's like,
it was cannabis. That's the way to vilify the black community in America.
And it's like,
black people in America don't use drugs at a higher rate than white people in America.
No, exactly.
They're disproportionately arrested, disproportionately searched.
Because it's planned.
It's a country built by slave owners.
Yeah, it's a really weird country, and you're like,
and like racists went into law enforcement.
Yeah, that's the scariest thing out there.
Because the police force comes, the police in America comes from slave patrols. That's the direct descendant. So once slave patrols were no longer allowed to be slave patrols, rounding up escaped people. Yeah, they just turned the slave patrols into the official police forces. And so you've got the people that wanted to sign up to catch human beings and enslave them. Yeah. Once they'd broken free or whatever, then becoming the law enforcement, and that's just, and it's not that many generations down the line. Yeah, exactly. It's not been that long in reality. Yeah, it's been two or three people. Time.
So it's still in there.
Emmett Till, who was killed at 14, would be in his 90s today, I think. 80s. He'd be younger than Morgan Freeman. I know that. I saw something like that. So he'd be alive today.
Yeah, that's crazy. Fact, it's one of those things where time, because human beings aren't good at processing time. Like, no, it's the worst.
We think it's ages ago. We see a black and white photo and we think it's it must be, you know, just after caveman times.
Yeah, it's so weird.
But it's not. You know, when people were shitting and pissing in the street and it flowing into the Thames, it wasn't that long ago that was happening.
Fuck man, that many generations. Oxford University's older than the Aztecs. Like, that's insane when you think about it. You're like, what?
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
It's like they were around at the same time. It's like, yeah. But when you think of Aztecs, you're like, that was...
So even me right now, I think, nah.
Like Aztecs was like biblical
Aztecs
times.
has to be a long, long time.
Yeah, it's like, I think Oxford was only like established like 100 years before or something.
That's crazy.
And it's like, what? You know what I mean? It's so mind...
Yeah, it's
bendingly
we don't process
weird.
time. We don't process time very well because we don't deal with death very well.
Yeah.
We don't deal with our own mortality very well, so we're not going to process time well.
We don't experience... In reality, we don't experience that much of time. Like, you know what I mean?
No. That's why we're insignificant, like we were saying before. Yeah. You experience a very small snippet of time.
Yeah.
But that's still really beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Because even though you don't matter, the things that we kind of think matter just don't matter.
Things...
Like, spending time with your kids matters. Like, the time I spend with my son is
because
the best.
It's partially because it's temporary, you know.
Yeah,
Eli's not going to be 5 forever.
But it's my favourite thing. So you could say, like, you know, Alex Wilson, psychologist, whatever. You can name all these things. But if it's like psychologist, athlete, father, that father's my favourite. That's the bit. That's the best bit. That matters. And if you have kids, they also... There comes an age when they probably start caring that they have no money. 5-year-olds don't give a fuck.
Yeah, because they have no concept of it.
No, they actually don't want you to go to work.
Yeah,
they want to chill with you. Or like, why can't I come? It's like, I mean, you could, I guess. You could just sit at the back while I lecture about stuff that you won't understand. But no.
It's a strange thing. Like, I find the concept of like nannies, like my ex was doing it in London for like 2 kids, and I was like, that's so weird that you're raising these kids instead of and they definitely had like a thing where they were like, we just want to be with our parents, you know, and it's just like, fuck, man.
But parents have got to work.
They've got to work, you know, but it's also this weird thing where I'm like, it's scary. It's like even nurseries freak me out a little bit. Especially when I found out that chain nurseries are a thing. Like, there's one down there called Busy Bees, and
they've got a bunch.
There's like, you know, it's like you're just putting your kid into a business basically and saying, look after him. I'm going to trust you. And the people that look
after your children are paid like minimum wage.
Yeah, it's so weird. It's like,
but the parents are paying. I mean, like full time in a nursery is like £700 a month.
It's
certain nurseries.
You know,
and the workers are being paid minimum wage. That money's going somewhere. Nurseries will say whatever, like costs, 100%. All the costs and all that stuff, but it's going somewhere.
It's so, it's just odd, like this weird separation between kids and their parents that happens.
School is daycare.
Yeah, because you're with
most people.
You're with your teachers longer than you're with your parents most of the time.
Primary school, cool, but I think secondary school is fucking daycare.
Secondary school
is basically daycare in terms of the education bit, the things you learn. Because after primary school, you can read.
Yeah, you can teach yourself.
If it's about teaching stuff, you just stick the kid in. All schools would just be a giant library. It would be like the British Library.
Yeah.
It'd be like, go and learn about the thing that you're interested in. Or, you know, go and learn about maths. There's the maths section. At 12 o'clock, you have English. There it is, right? If it's about, obviously I'm being stupid. That's never going to exist. It's not how the world works. The other things you get is the mentorship thing. You get that relationship with teachers, and you get the peer-to-peer learning and all of that stuff, and you get molded and shaped. Yeah,
I think that with like the teaching at schools around more like businesses, and then you have this issue where progress is the key, and some kids learn slower than other kids, and if that kid's not brought up to speed quick enough, then it reflects badly on the teacher.
Teachers have to make 3 levels of progress. So if you come in at a 4B, then you've got to be...
What's that?
You've got
6.
I think that's like a C or a B you're supposed to get.
Yeah, and it's like...
By GCSE, so that's the 4 levels of process.
Yeah. And I mean, that works for some kids, but not all of them. You know what I mean?
But then what you get is primary schools, and it does happen... My mum's a teacher, I've heard the stories, it does happen.
So is mine, so I'll probably
so you get primary schools that will put kids through as levels that they're just not.
Yeah,
because, like you said, it reflects badly on the school, and the school gets either less or more funding, or reflects badly on the teacher,
and no wonder it's so hard to be like a good teacher. You know what I mean? Because you're not in the school. You're not necessarily rewarded for being a good teacher from the powers that be and stuff, and it becomes this thing where it's like they get in because they want to teach kids, and then when they get there, it's like, oh, I'm not really doing that. I'm trying to like do this weird spreadsheet of grades and progress and stuff, and it's like my mum's a lecturer now. She used to be a teacher, and she's like, I'm glad I'm done with that.
Yeah,
like, I wouldn't want to go back into a school, you know.
I taught in a secondary school for a bit. I taught science, but I also taught PE. And the PE bit was the bit where I see the most growth in students.
Yeah.
Because you get all the stuff we were talking about before. It's I can't do it, and then I just keep having a go until I can do it. And then you just see when you see someone at the skate park that lands something they've been trying, just the joy and that feeling. You've had it, like the first time you landed.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's just,
you're like, I did something new. It's like you get that joy, and you get that through sport, and you just learn about doing the thing. It's about growth mindset, that all your obstacles are something to overcome.
Yeah,
not something that's in the way.
That rush
not
as
an
well.
Excuse.
I've recently, this is something that I've only become aware of recently, but you can get it in art as well. I had a painter friend of mine, Sarah, and she was telling me when she was doing this one painting, she like makes these like chemical mixtures of stuff and then like pours it in, and it makes like these abstract things. I think she calls it like chemical composition, and she said, I was using this stuff and it just behaved in a way that I'd never seen it behave before, and I've never been able to make it do it again. And when she was doing it, she was like, I had like an adrenaline rush while I was doing it. It was like my process. It's like excite me because I've like, there's something more to it that I don't know.
She can't do.
Yeah, it's like, whoa, it's like I've expanded on what I've done before. It's like I'm progressing, or I've like.
But you can do that every day. You can do something you can't do every day. Exercise does that. That's why people will say, exercise is a cure for depression. Now they're full of shit.
Yeah.
But it can certainly help. If your parent dies, you're supposed to be depressed. It's not the time to go on antidepressants.
That's not a mental health. Your mental health for me is like
sadness,
you're out of line.
Yeah. Sadness exists. It's supposed to happen.
It's a normal human emotion at that point. It's like.
But like severe depression, okay, going to the gym and running isn't going to cure that.
Yeah,
but if you're feeling a bit sad, do something difficult and win. Like win a little bit every day.
And that will keep you in check.
Just win.
That will stop it. Like that's something you have to implement before it gets out of hand. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like you say, if you're severely depressed, then going to the gym might help. But if you're feeling a little bit sad, like if you're stressed out about something, you've had an argument with someone, you'd like go exercise, and then afterwards you're like, well, that was a load of, why did I even give a shit? It's like it's done, it's whatever.
Yeah, if I work out really hard in the morning, or skateboarding, whatever, just something difficult. If I just am able to stay in a cold shower, just win over myself. I win. I wanted to quit, but I stayed in there for an extra 2 seconds. Whatever the small victory, it doesn't matter. A win is a win. If I win every day, I care a little bit less when someone cuts me up in traffic. And I definitely don't care enough. I'm not going to create my own drama. I'm not going to then go home and watch Love Island just to shit on people. Or watch Jeremy Kyle so that I feel superior. I don't need to create the drama. Everyone has been in a situation. If you've been in a relationship, you understand, or you probably do as teenagers with your parents, or your siblings for sure.
Yeah.
When you're bored, you start some shit.
Yeah. My brother does it all the time.
Yeah.
He comes into my room just to...
Yeah, because he's bored.
Be annoying. Yeah.
It's like... That's all.
Yeah, exactly.
If you don't have things to do, you've not struggled that day, you're going to start drama. And when you see it in kids, they're like the primal version of all of us. Like, there's a kid in every single one of us that still responds to things that exact same way. If you do something difficult that day, you've won that day already. Like, other things don't bother you so much. If you can cut me up in traffic after a hard workout in the morning, I don't care less.
I kind of, speaking of, like, that idea of doing something in the morning, like, these podcasts, like, for most people, I've been saying, like, we'll do it about 3 and stuff, because, it's like, I feel like that's a good time, but, like, the ones I've done so far have been all, like, not early morning, but morning-ish, and it's been like, the rest of my day feels so much better, because I'm like, I've done something today. You know, I've done something already. Everything else, like, I'll probably go do some uni work or read or something. That's just icing on the cake now. Like, this is like my something that then makes me want to do more. You know, most days I'm like, oh, maybe I'll watch a couple YouTube videos and then I'll think about, you know, doing some uni work. And then it's 9 o'clock. And then I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
It's like this, even though because it seems illogical. It's like, do something to do something more. It seems like, but you're expending energy on this, and then how are you going to have the energy for the next thing? And it's like, there's something about completing a task that makes you hunt down the next thing and want to just keep pushing.
Yeah.
Like,
and some triggers for that are weird. Like, I have a chair in my flat that if I sit on, it's an effort.
Right.
Not to get up. I'll get up and do other things, but it's an effort to then be productive.
Right.
So I just don't sit on that chair in the morning.
Yeah, because it will just.
That's what I sit on when I'm knackered. Like at the end of the day.
That's
because I don't know what it is about the chair. It's just comfy. It's whatever it is. It's the angle, maybe. Who knows? Maybe it's all psychological and it's psychosomatic and it's nonsense. But if I sit on it, I'm not doing anything.
I could see things like that. I can't really think of any examples really. Or I tell you what's one for me. For some reason, I find it really hard to learn tricks at Radlands. Like if I go to a different skate park, like I can learn like 2 or 3 tricks. Like if I go to Hop King in London and I'm skating their quarter pipe, I'll learn like 3 or 4 tricks. But I go to Radlands and suddenly I can't even do the tricks I learn. Like I can't, for some reason at Radlands I can't do backside disasters. Right. Anywhere else I can do them. And it's like this weird thing about Radlands. I don't know whether when I go to Radlands I'm just, I don't know. It's somewhat weird, and it's probably something I should stop being a bitch about. but you know what I mean. Like, but it's just as like I could see it in the same vein as like you with your chair in a weird about way.
But I mean, if you know that about yourself, you just stop doing that.
Yeah.
Or
like,
that's your growth mindset is that's an obstacle that needs to be overcome. Not a barrier to your success. Exactly. That's not going to stop you doing the tricks at Radlands. It's just that I can't do tricks at Radlands, so I'm going to do tricks at Radlands until I can.
Yeah.
The word "yet," I honestly think, is the most underappreciated word in the English language. Other than like flange, that's a really funny word. So I just like the word flange as an underappreciated one. But
fair enough.
Yet is the most underappreciated word in the English language.
Yeah.
Because the word can't is horrible. I can't do this.
Yeah.
But when you stick yet right at the end of that changes your entire mindset to what that task is.
And it's like you're gonna get there now. It's like
you're gonna do it.
Yeah.
Like and I feel that way. If I say I'm gonna do this thing, it's already done. I'm just waiting for you lot to see. And I don't care if you ever do.
Do you ever have that thing where you tell someone you're gonna do it and then it doesn't happen? Have you ever noticed that? Like I've heard some people say it, because before I started this podcast I didn't tell anyone except for people saying, like, inviting people on. But there was one person that it was like a couple weeks before I actually had organised anything yet, but I told someone I was going to do it, and she was like, obviously she was still like, no, you should do it and stuff like that, but I was like, as soon as I told her, I was like, I shouldn't have said anything, because now that's just increased the chance that it ends up not happening for whatever reason.
You are a human being, so what you will do is try and find the easiest way to do things. That's why we invent tools, right?
Right.
Bashing something's head in with a rock is way easier than me trying to just bash this thing's head in. Right?
Yeah.
Catching a rabbit with a net is much easier than me trying to catch a rabbit. If you've got rabbits that are like little and run around, then you know you're not going to catch the rabbit, right? So we make tools, we do things, killing something dangerous from a distance with an arrow or a rifle, and then it starts to develop, and that's why phones get better every single year, because our tools get better every single year. That's a human thing, because we want to make our life as easy as possible. Our body knows, and it's really counterintuitive to what's healthy for us, but our body wants to do nothing because it knows it's safe.
Yeah.
But that makes you sad. What makes you happy is actually going out and doing something every day. And it can be your passion. It can just be sitting in a cold shower that's difficult to do. Something that sucks. doing something you don't want to do. Once you've finished it, it means far more. Like me, I hate washing up. I have to wash up, otherwise my kitchen's a mess. But also, because I don't like doing it. I don't like jogging. Yeah. Despite playing basketball, I can run up and down, it's fine, I can jog. But that's a sport, it's fun. It's also competitive, adrenaline, all of that stuff. But I hate just running in a straight line, it's boring. And that's exactly why I do it. Because I hate doing it.
And it gives you that win as
well. I win every day.
That's man, I'm looking at this fucking battery timer dripping
Is it
down.
gone again?
It's already at like 1 bar, so I think before we have another cup, we'll end it on the positive night of go out and fucking win.
Go and win every day.
Go and win. Whatever the fuck you're doing, turn this shit off and go win. Go put your shower as freezing cold as it can be, or go run wherever the fuck. Do something terrible and win. This seems so good. Alex Wilson, people, I hope you fucking enjoyed it. Is there anything you want to?
No, just thank
off?
you for
yeah, no worries. Any fucking time. You were one of the first guys that I wanted to get on. Like, since you're the reason I'm fucking here doing it. If anything, from
you come on mine when I put my finger out and Corona was over.
Happily, man. Any time, man, for sure. But yeah, that was a good one. Alex Wilson, people say.
Cheers, man.